Meow meow, it's Sexty Cat. Today I'm going to show you some prototypes that I've worked on. These are kind of like side games or kind of just iterations of kind of mechanics or different things I want to try out. The thing is, you can always use components within these games in other games. It's really easy just basically copying and pasting. So anything you develop, it's like an incubator for functions or different kind of machines and components. So some of these are older and some of these are kind of recent. And these are things I haven't shown before. So I kind of figured I had a bunch of these that I wanted to showcase. So this is kind of an older one. This is just titled Swifty Smash Cats. And kind of unapologetically, it's kind of, I've wanted to make my own kind of Super Smash Brothers. So I've kind of done that in a way with Lunacore. And so this is like an older version. Basically like a platformer fighter, which there really aren't that many. So Super Smash Brothers is just a platformer fighter. There's a couple others, but it's the only one that's kind of like really, really, really good. I mean, Rivals of Aether is pretty good too. But anyways, I just tried to do that concept, and I did this game particularly without any external graphics. So the actual file is only like 4 kilobytes. And that was like a fun experiment to do. So everything in Swifty Smash Cats. So we go to like a render. So like basically you use math to render everything. And you'd use like drawing. So like an ellipse is more complex, but basically you're kind of using the canvas, which is the canvas 2D rendering context, and it has functions built in for like an ellipse. You just have to put in the parameters that make it how you want. So I was able to make all these guys little animations and character all with just code, which was really fun. So he's got like a little punch. He also has, so he's double jump. You also have this kind of like air dodge. The screen's moving around because it's zoomed in too far. So you can go in different directions with that air dodge. It's kind of like, again, like Super Smash Brothers. And in this, you can punch the other guy. I think I might have had it that you can also control the other guy. Maybe not. But you could do that eventually. This is kind of older, and I've done things past this. But this is actually also the most important thing about this is that it's my own physics engine, which is pretty bare bones. But it basically is just like a line. If you go past that line, you stop moving. So before this, I was always using different physics engines like Box2D or P2.js. So you have to use their functions and their engine. But if you make your own, you can customize it very particularly to what you want to do. So that's all I want to show with Swifty Smash Cats. This is just kind of this is actually the very beginnings of a game that I wanted to make, which I don't think I ended up making, but kind of parts of it went into Lunacore. This was, I didn't have necessarily a name, but it was just supposed to be a really simple game where you're this girl who her cat is running away, and you'd have to follow and find her cat, and you'd kind of like climb stuff really high up, and the kind of idea was like with getting over it, that game where if you fall down a long way, which I've used in various things like a map I made for the Earth.io, Cloud Kingdom, and also Lunacore's map was kind of that idea too, that you can go really high up, and if you fall a long way. So I was just doing that in a very like simple, like fun, like innocent platformer game where it's just kind of testing your platforming, and it's kind of just cute and fun. So that's all with that one, really. So this is now we're into more recent stuff. This is the beginnings of a poker simulator thing. I really like poker. I think it's really cool. I watch it live. So I wanted to make an engine that I could like see a lot of hands, or just I could maybe do calculations on things. Maybe ultimately I could have like fake players make decisions, make like a tight player that plays tight, or a loose player that plays loose, aggressive. you could like simulate different players, but this is just the beginnings of just being able to have a deck, shuffle it, and being able to assess the best hand. So it just kind of displays it in text here. So it gives them like a random hand. Noah has a 2 and a king. Jack has a 7 and a 2. And these are the flop, the turn, and the river card. And then this will determine only, right now it's only by pair, whoever has the best pair. And 13 is like a king. So Noah has a pair of kings. He has that and this. So it can just determine the best pair right now. So that's just the beginnings. I could elaborate on it. The whole file is pretty short. It's only 200 lines here. And just I'm gonna look at what's actually important here. So yeah, determine results. I could extend this to actually find all the different kinds of hands. It's a little bit more complex. You need to first find the best hand, which would be like a straight flush, and then go down to a flush. And so you try to first find the best hand of that player, and then compare those to the other players. And it's kind of has a little bit of complexity because you're also incorporating the cards on the board. And since there's a total of 7 cards that you can make a hand out of, you have to cycle through all the possibilities, basically. So that's that for now. This is the beginnings of some simulator stuff that I wanted to make. So I like a lot of simulator game stuff. This was just to simulate people growing up, people getting married, people having kids, and then they eventually die and stuff. So it's kind of like simple, but it's interesting how things like this connect with people, I guess, in a way. So I have this big name index that I made. I just found like popular names of girl names, guy names. So I've used this in a bunch of these early prototypes. I also made this like place name generator, which we'll see a little bit later in execution. But anyways, the one random thing I have is it chooses random names, but I don't use random in any other part of these prototypes. And I want to talk about random stuff later. I want to make like a scripted, edited video about it, make a really good argument. But until then, let's talk about this stuff. So this basically cycles a year every time it refreshes. So people get a little bit older, and they have a zodiac sign, and basically it determines who. So like zodiac stuff. This zodiac sign. Compatibility. So this will take in 2 people, this function. It sees a difference in their age, if they're close enough in age, if they're the opposite gender is true. Then that gives them a little bit more, or they start off with a compatibility value, and it adds more value if they're the same element. So if they're water and water, their highest compatibility. If they're harmonic element, so like fire and air are pretty compatible in the zodiac, that would be a little bit less value than being the same element. And then if they're the same mode, we're going to give them an extra value. So like mutable and mutable. Every zodiac sign is an element and a mode. There's 3 modes: mutable, fixed, and cardinal. And so that's how you make the 12 signs. You combine the 4 elements to 3 modes. Yeah. Yeah, so the farther they're from age, the less compatible they are. And so basically it goes through all the available people, and whoever they're most compatible with based on age and the zodiac, that's who they'll marry. And then over time, they just have kids. So like, first we'll look at Perry, this oldest guy here, a Virgo. He's 53. He's a wife with Pamela, and he has 3 kids. So let's look at Pamela. She's a Cancer. She's older. She's 60. Elmer, Delilah, and Miles. So let's look at Delilah. Here's Delilah. She's a Taurus. Now she's 30. She's married to Marcus, and she is a kid named Lucille. Let's look at Lucille. Lucille's a Cancer also. She's 6 right now, so she's getting older. So there's just something compelling about simulating this, and this would be used in something else. This is just kind of like the example of this engine. With Aegeon, with different games, I've wanted to simulate just life, like simulate the various stuff that I find compelling and stuff. So, with that, here's one of those simulator versions, which I've prototyped tons of stuff from Aegeon multiple times. So, Aegeon is just a universe I have. It's basically made up, has its physics, it has its own kind of way it functions to best supply a game that I would be interested in making. So, big thing about Aegeon is that there's 7 elements. This orange stuff is the second element, and so you gather that. So this is kind of a good example of how also Aegeon, has to be in a floating platform, floating cities. So I use that name generator to make these names of these cities. So Levinson Trench over here, Arctic Annex over here. So it was really fun to do this. Let's look at the names. So I basically have place name index, which I can add to, but this was just where I started from. So these are like formal names, and it'll determine if it needs this prefix. So these are different prefixes like fort or like new. And so these all work together. Like you could say New Sandburg or Fort Caesar or Little Quincy. And then there's sometimes it adds a post name like island, point, bluff, rock, canyon. So it could be like Pompeii Gulf or Buckingham Dunes. And then I also made some things for restaurants. So these are just different prefixes. Burger Tavern or Bacon King, Apple Brothers. They sound enough to give you like a basic name. I just found it so interesting that it works so well when it's something very simple. So, in this simulation thing, basically people are on these islands and there's these shuttles. There's like a pilot to the shuttle, and if somebody wants to change islands, which right now they would only change islands if they're hungry and they don't have a restaurant in their place, then they'll board the shuttle and go to the other island. And so this would just be the bare bones of some kind of simulator game. I made it, and this is like the second iteration, which I've made more recently. This one has them going on these mining ships. They go down to mine the red ether, and as they get enough red ether, which is called ore here, they'll build a new ship, and they'll either build a new mining ship or they'll build a new transport ship. So here he's returning the ore to the island, and then these are the people that are on the island, and if they're chilling on the island, then they'll progress to make a new person. And so in this simulation there's these mining ore places, and as they get more ore they'll build more ships and grow. I don't know if they make more islands too. We'll take a look at a little bit of the code for this one. It's the most furthest along version of this Aegeon. Starting islands. Can you make a new island? Yeah, if they have enough ore, they'll make a new island. That's pretty fun. So I had to have it running for a while. So I like these like cities that grow on them by themselves, where you don't have to intervene. You could intervene. I could have you intervene in different various ways. You could be a god mode, or maybe just you're a person. So that variability is not finished. I could make multiple games with this. This is just kind of experimenting with different mechanics and seeing how they work. I mean, a lot of Aegeon early stuff I wanted was to have the ships have their own engine systems, and how they operate could be made up and kind of cool. I think having like different thrusters that have different kind of energy requirements to run them. There's a lot of directions you can go with this. So nothing was really set in concrete, but this is just kind of an example. So yeah, it looks like they made some new people. This is transport ship. The transport ship isn't like perfect. I think he's just gonna loop right here. he should be transporting where they even out the islands. I think it will over time, eventually. I can maybe increase the tick rate. How often does it process something? Yeah, game beat. Process game beat. So I could make this faster. So we'll go 5 times as fast. Let's see how things... Hopefully they can kind of grow and stuff. I can go into the console. You can look at... Well, there's tribes. Tribes is... I was going to have different communities or different, like, collections of cities and stuff. This tribe is called Azure. Has their focus, incubators, which islands they have. They have these 2 islands. One's called Algonquin, so they have names. People, they have what they're doing, their idol, where they're at. If they're on a ship, it looks like they're producing faster. So yeah, now they built a new mining ship. So now they're mining more. This 1 ore. And just things like growing by themselves. I don't know why, it's just very compelling to me. I hope this transport so yeah, they're having more miners on the ship, so they mine a little bit faster. And eventually this ore will disappear, and they'll have to go to a different ore to mine it. See, there's some of the basic mechanics that you would start with Aegeon. Yeah, they're reproducing pretty fast. So this shuttle's supposed to move them over. It got pretty complex with this, so I got a little confused. Yeah, they have 3 ships. Maybe there's no pilot. I don't know. I wonder if they'll make a new island. They should make a new island. So they got 2,000 ore. Whatever, we're just going to move on here. So that was Aegeon Eco. This is just... So these are supposed to be volcanoes in the water producing land. So these is a different set of games that I've been wanting to make. This kind of like an RTS, like StarCraft or Warcraft. I wanted to have people versus nature, or like the nature's like they have like fairies and stuff like that. Those would be like the 2 races, but basically like a town building simulator. Not necessarily a simulator, more like a real-time strategy game. So I'm gonna lower the tick rate on this so you can see it more detail. Game beat. Tick. So yeah, we're gonna go 10 times slowly. So basically there's like a wind direction, and the wind shifts every so often, so the wind's going to like to the bottom left. And so there's like a volcano, and lava's coming from it, and lava is being directed by the wind, and when it touches water, it creates land. So I kind of want to have this land generation thing that doesn't use random, but it uses kind of like this procedural thing where it checks. So these are like little squares that it checks for various things. So cycle wind, check if land. So it's a function to check if the block is land. I never really made anything with cells like this, like a little like a grid. And I wondered always if it would render okay. Like it'd be too much for the computer, but it seems to be pretty okay. And so it's fun. You can kind of have a different. You can create like somewhat realistic, or not realistic, but it takes ideas off of realistic things. And so what this game would eventually be, well, what I wanted. This can also be like another different simulator game. I could do like something like trade with this basic engine. But yeah, I just want a real-time strategy game. Okay, so this is the last prototype. This is the most recent thing I've made. So this is again like where people are functioning by themselves. People have names in this one. So right now he's cutting lumber. So this town just kind of functions by itself. The top left, this is how they're appropriating their labor. So right now it's 100% on lumber they're determining. If they have different factors, they'll shift. So yeah, now you got wood. Since now it's 33% gathering. So now he's gathering the wood and bringing it to the building. We'll increase the rate that this moves. It might go really fast. Because yeah, again, they reproduce. And then they try to build these new houses. And as there's more houses, the houses increase how much people are produced. So once you get this egg progress on the building goes to 1,000, they'll make a new person right now. Again, this is just kind of like prototyping an idea. I like simulator games. So yeah, now as things shift, they'll have more people working on the actual building of the building, or bringing wood to the building, or cutting more lumber. So yeah, I could extend this by, they could farm, they have food, and it was just a fun idea to see how to weight the different tasks that the little community needs. How far along is this? Why is this not finishing? I think they need another builder. Oh yeah, it's done now. And then even like transport would be cool, like having roads, having like maybe like trains go between things. And this kind of like looks like how I'd want that real-time strategy game that I want to make. I just wanted to show how they determine what to do, because it's actually pretty simple, and I think you could use it in a lot of different ways. Target, check diagonal, check horizontal. The collision detection, the collisions are pretty funny right now. If they're overlapping, they'll just kind of shift in a direction until they stop overlapping. Determine? Set percentages. Okay, yeah, this is what's interesting. So basically I give everything a value that they should be doing, and then it checks all the building plots that are basically a building that's incomplete. If that plot has less than 40 wood, then we'll add weight to the desire for lumber. So you add just a number to that weight. If the wood is even less, we'll add more, and if it's even less than that, then we'll add even more. But also alternatively, if the progress on building that plot is less than the amount of wood that it has right now, because I have it where you can only build as far as the wood is there, then it'll add weight to having it built. And then gatherer is just how many logs are out in the field divided by 3. So it takes all these numbers, the total weight, which is the lumber weight, the gather weight, and the builder weight, and then it divides each of the weight by the total weight to give it a percentage. So that'll return basically a percentage. That's how you get these nice little percentages. You just add these numbers together and divide them by the total to get a percentage of that total. So it works out really nicely. It's a pretty simple system that works really well. And also another factor is the order in which it associates, where it applies to each worker. Whichever happens first has some sort of priority, so you just have to kind of consider that. But yeah, these are cool little prototypes. I figured I'd show them off. I'm still working on Pizza Boss, and things are really cool for it. I'm really excited for it. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you around next time.